picking a goal of why you want to start a physical practice. And if I had to explain my personal goal, it would be I'm trying to be human strong.
May I have your attention, please?
You're my leader.
Now listening to Clear the Mechanism.
The Robby Rose Show.
The Robby Rose Show.
All right, what up, guys? It's your boy Robby rolling, the host of the Robby Rose Show. You're listening to episode 31 already. We're making moves in this podcast. Anyways, I got a good episode for you guys. My guest today is DJ Murakami. I found him on Instagram, and again, I say this in the podcast itself, but stop what you're doing, go to Instagram, and type in Strong Camps, STRONGCAMPS, and you'll see the freakishly athletic, strong DJ Murakami in full blow. So that is why I wanted to have him on the show. More of a selfish / personal reason, because I just wanted to pick his brain about his motives, his training tactics, his goals, how he's gotten to the point where he is today. What are some of the training methods that he uses? How is he influencing people's lives to just be strong, just to be human strong, like he said in the soundbite there. So definitely intriguing episode for you guys. Again, I highly encourage you to check out his Instagram. A fascinating guy, awesome dude to talk to. And I definitely took something away personally from this podcast. Just, it's funny because you always, as an athlete, you're training and you're training so hard for the specific sport that you're in, and you don't really take that time to step back and think to yourself, like, there's more to this than just being a really good athlete. You know, there's more real life situations that you get put into that you need that strength and you need that athleticism to just do everyday tasks. So definitely a cool, diverse podcast for you guys today. I know I typically have like baseball related guests on. DJ has no affiliation to baseball, but definitely there's correlation to the athletic world and definitely the training world. So I definitely got a treat for you guys today. Again, if you're new to this podcast, I'd highly appreciate it if you go ahead and subscribe and leave me a good review if you enjoyed it, and if not, I'd still like a review to let me know how I can get better, or who you want to hear from in future podcast episodes. And again, if you don't know and you're tuning in for the first time, my name's Robby Rowland. You can find me on Instagram at RobbyRow12. That's ROBBYROW12. So I hope you guys enjoy this podcast as much as I did, and appreciate y'all's support. Have fun. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in to the Robby Rose Show, episode 31 today. And I totally forgot to ask my guest today how he actually pronounced his last name, so I'm just going to go ahead and give it a whirl with everyone listening. DJ Murakami. Is that right?
That was perfect.
Oh, dude, DJ, how we doing today, man?
Doing good. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I mean, coming across your Instagram, guys, for those of you who are listening, stop what you're doing right now, everybody, and go to your phone that you're probably listening to this podcast on and type in Strong Camps. That's STRONGCAMPS, and check this dude out. I mean, sensational stuff. DJ, can you tell us a little bit about like what it is that you do?
Well, besides the weird shit you see on Instagram.
I was going to say, is that vague enough?
Yeah, I'm a trainer. Right now, I have the OMU, which is Online Movement University, with myself, John Yoon, who's the most beautiful mover in the world, and my buddy Mirth. And we pretty much have it's a educational platform where we showcase different presenters and teachers every month. Like strongmen, dancers, different workout methodologies.
Yeah.
Also, just online training with, are you familiar with Hunter Cook?
Oh, yeah.
Hunter
I'm
Yeah.
familiar with all like those guys. I'm
If
weird
you are
like that.
familiar with him, then you're definitely living under a rock. He is Instagram.
He
But
is
yeah,
Instagram.
him and also John Yoon, we have a training program online.
How'd that
But
all
yeah, it's
start?
pretty much. How did that start?
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, I'm sure you know, I've gone through a lot of different phases in my personal training of what I was into at the time, like bodybuilding, functional, I'm doing air quotes, functional training, CrossFit type of stuff, Olympic lifting, bodyweight calisthenics. And at the time, those were the things I was teaching my clients because I'm like, this is what you need to know, what I'm doing and what I'm good at. And I feel like everyone kind of has that. So what we have with this program is someone who has dedicated his life to learning how to train mobility. Another person who is a fantastic mover and exploratory type of movement, and me, just a meathead who likes to lift things. So we're all trying to combine that into a program, and we all kind of help each other and train each other. So I think it's a special thing, and it'll allow people a more well-rounded experience.
It sounds like you got a pretty dang sturdy tripod forming out of you three.
Yeah, it's a great tripod. I'm trying not to be the weak leg that's always tipping over. You got a piece of paper under.
Yeah, dude, it's funny because when you say you've gone through all these phases, I think that's all of us, right? Like as athletes, like we get into the CrossFit and we're doing these wads every day and it's so cool, but then we kind of get bored and tired out and burn out, and it's like, okay, well, what's the next thing? And it's like, let's lift as much weight as possible for as little amounts of reps, but increase the sets, and we're powerlifting, and I think that's just a series like we all go through. So if you can talk about how all that has kind of helped you transition into what you're doing now as far as moving properly.
Yeah, it's funny you brought that up because I think everyone is doing that. They're almost searching for a path they belong to, that will get them to, movement enlightenment, physical enlightenment, where, they get to those athletes they see who, it's funny, athletes are the ones we look up to as far as how do we move? How do I train?
Optimal health.
Look at this Olympic athlete or football player where, dude, they might be feeling like they're 60 years old when they're 30. Like,
sure,
at a whole different level. That's not necessarily health. And I feel like a lot of people jump from one thing to the other because of injury, because they wreck their bodies or they're doing something and they're like, well, I'm not really getting to that level I thought I would get to. I'm doing, let's say, gymnastics bodies, and I've been doing it for 3 years, and I'm still on the foundations. You know what I mean?
Right.
You get worn out because there's something you're searching for. And where I'm at personally in my life is I'm no longer trying to find an external mode of movement that will get me there. Mm-hmm. I'm more focusing internally on the capacity of my own body. And then I'm just doing whatever I enjoy doing and having fun.
Well, yeah, I think that's like important too, right? Because like we don't ever want to be the guy that's absolutely dreading having to like go train, right? Or having to go do something. Because I think piggybacking on what you said about like that seeking out that most optimal, training regimen, I think within that has to be enjoyment too. And it sounds like you're enjoying the heck out of what you're doing right now, right?
Yeah, I'm just having fun. I mean, my training, the three pillars of my training is, expand, control, and explore. So the expand part is just, I want to increase the capacity, the freedom in my body that I have potential to create. I want to, control load, control movement. And then I want to just explore and do whatever I want with it. A lot of people you hear, if you see something on Instagram you think it's cool, don't try it because you're probably going to hurt yourself. dude, I love trying all types of shit. And I love playing around and experimenting. I love being able to go into different situations and not fear trying it out because I'm not good at it. And I feel like that's something I admire in kids and young children is they have no fear at all.
Dude, they have that curiosity about themselves, you know?
Oh yeah, whatever they want to try, I'll jump off of this, I'll do this, and they have no hesitation. And I think, as people slowly get older, their world of movement, like when they were kids and they would just explore that 360 degrees, gets whittled down little by little because maybe someone told them, this is the way you have to move. This is the right way to do things. You have to specialize in this. Or maybe they incurred injuries where it's like, oh, maybe that's not good for me anymore. My low back isn't good. My shoulder's not good. I can't go here. And then you're kind of an adult at an office job trying to get back into exercise. And we go into this rigid, linear, very small world of movement because it's the safest, most efficient way. And I'm trying to get back to what the kids are doing. I'm not there yet, but hopefully I can work towards it.
I just know because like I agree 100%, but I also know from with my background in like baseball and the biggest thing for us as baseball players or any sport, it's how can we train aggressively, but at the same time being mindful about staying on the field, right? And the injury prevention side of things. So, just out of curiosity, like with what you're doing now, putting your body in you kind of already stated, like exploring those movements is that something that's, cause for effect as far as injuries go, or is it the opposite?
Do you mean is exploring movement?
I just mean like I'm really trying to like word this to a point where I'm not trying to come off disrespectful, but you look at your page and you're throwing up sandbags in a snatch. You're doing these backhand deadlifts. You're doing the boulder deadlifts with a rounded back. Like those type of movements. Like are those things that are natural for the human body?
Well, I think the great thing about the human body is it's so adaptable to our environment. So, I mean, when have you been outside of the gym and ever got in your deadlift stance, put your knee wraps on, got your toes pointed a certain way, did your setup? I mean, first of all, I've never seen anything where you grab outside your legs and the weight is also outside your arms. I mean, usually you're picking it up inside. Yeah. Not that there's anything bad with doing deadlifts or this, but it's one line of force, one movement, and there's nothing wrong with getting really good and strong at that. But I think the problem is outside of that, if you're really weak, that's when you run into problems. So like I said, if you could make that whole range strong, not only does that help make you more resilient, give you more freedom of movement, really, it's helping training those oh shit moments that you see in the chaos of sports and life. I don't see how someone sprains their ankle and the PT is telling them, okay, we always have to keep the knee and everything stacked in perfect alignment. It's like, if I could do that, I would have never been hurt on the field in the first place. You know what I mean? You should prepare for these positions that are that you're weak in. Is it's the tissue not being able to have the capacity to absorb that load, so that you incur damage. So why not build up the resiliency so that you're protecting yourself? So that's how I view it. Not so much good and bad movement, but it's pretty much training body armor.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense too, right? Like as I've evolved, I guess in a way, like a maturity aspect, I've kind of looked at how like our warrior ancestors moved and lived, and just the strength that they had to have had, right, when it comes to just everything. And I think that's creating like the optimal human being. And you could talk all day about the several benefits that we've we've had back then that we've kind of gotten away from in today's society. But I want to actually dive into like the movements, right? And because I think there's so many of us that just, unfortunately sit down all day, right? Work the 9 to 5, and we just don't move well. Kind of go into things that we can do, as a human being to help aid in moving better, if you will.
Yeah, so I guess for the person who's sedentary, sitting all day, when you get to that point in life and you think, okay, now I need to start a movement practice, start a physical practice, and start training again, it's funny where we choose to go back to. We go back to picking exercises, which once again, when we were a kid, we would play, and then we'd go to PE, which would kind of suck. Let's run a lap. And then we'd play a sport, and then we would exercise for that sport because it's a condensed, supplement of movement that could get us bigger, stronger, and faster. And we go back to exercise, and I think exercise in itself is kind of a sport and a skill. I mean, you see this in a gym. A lot of people go to the gym. They're not training for anything but to train, And I see this with a lot of personal trainers is their goal for their client is to get good at the squat, the press, the, handful of exercises, whatever they're into.
Yeah.
Like that's the goal because they think, well, you need a functional body to do this, to do a squat. Squatting this much means you're a good athlete, and maybe your leg strength is. It goes off of these arbitrary measures of health, and I guess I would just invite people to, instead of trying to gain skills, if you want to be healthier, look at the potential of your body. Like, do you have a hip and a knee and an ankle that can create a squat if you wanted to? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't think okay, I'm going to do a squat, get good at a squat, make this shape with my body and put weight on the bar. Then everything else will be there. And I don't think it works that way. Because once you build the capacity for your body, I'm going to say you want to build functional joints. You want to give yourself degrees of freedom. You want to control that range of motion. Then you could do whatever you want with it. You could squat with it. You could play sports with it. You could play racquetball, whatever you want to do. So I think just changing the mindset of what is going to get me, what is the goal of your training? And if it's the goal of your training is to get good at training, I think we might be disappointed, and you might be one of those people who hops from one mode of exercise to the other, searching for something.
Yeah. So how can those people figure out like what their goals are?
Oh man, I don't know. Find a psychiatrist. I don't know. Because I have people. So the people I train at the gym, a lot of them are, let's say, marathon runners, athletes. Some are CrossFitters, which I consider athletes.
Right.
But some of them come in and they're just saying, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to do for movement. Like, that's why I'm here. And a lot of times I'll introduce them to play, which is really, if you facilitate it properly in the gym, it's organic strength training. And I think it's a great way to get those movement vitamins instead of just focusing on the meat and potatoes, which a lot of people do.
Yeah. So what does that look like?
So organic strength would be playing games with them, giving them an external task to do in their environment. So if you give someone an exercise, say 20 reps of this, mm-hmm. They're in their mind, they're trying to do this choreographed movement up and down, up and down. They're in their head counting reps. If you say, hey, I want you to tap my hand over here, then they're in their environment present. They're not counting reps. they're in real time gathering data. A clear example would be, instead of having someone do like sprints on the field, how about we play tag? When you're playing tag, you're reacting to someone, which is why, like combine scores in the NFL don't correlate to how good an athlete you're going to be, because you're never really orienting yourself to a situation in real time, especially with another person. But when you have people playing, you're reacting to another person, the complexity and variability skyrockets. I mean, you can't even mimic that or make an artificial exercise out of that, because there's so much going on. You're cutting, you're moving laterally, there's so much neural activity. You're getting smarter with your body pretty much. And I think that's something play offers. And yeah, it's hard to measure because there's so much going on, but that's the goodies.
And it sounds like super high amounts of fun.
But yeah, when you're having fun and you're smiling, then you're not thinking like, oh, I'm going to slow down because I'm tired. I'm going to pace myself. Imagine doing a hike, bouldering up and down like a mountain or something that takes 3-4 hours. You're outside in nature. Maybe you're with friends. You have a task ahead of you. I need to get up here, and every step is different. You're figuring out how to navigate. You go back down. You're breathing in the fresh air. You're stopping when you need to. If you were to recreate that movement in a gym, it would be impossible. And if you could, let's say 1,000 pistols like you were doing when you're going down the rock, or sissy squats when you're stepping down something steep, you'd probably be miserable and never want to go back to the gym. And you probably hurt yourself or have some damage to the tissues because you're doing everything in one linear straight line instead of the complexity of nature, which is so variable that you never really reach that point. I think the same thing goes for play. And yeah, you'll probably feel great the next day. You're not going to feel like you got your ass kicked.
Yeah, dude. I just love that. I just love that approach because it's so simple, yet there's so much complexities to it that actually just makes sense. And for me, like, I'm constantly, within my life journey, like, I'm seeking things that put me in that like flow state of mind, right? So where I can do tasks and do things in my day that are benefiting me as a human being, but at the same time, I'm not sitting there absolutely dreading it over and over again, right, and getting monotonous with it. I think that's another thing when it comes to training. Like for me, I've gone through a few phases as well, and like powerlifting, right? It was squat, hinge, lunge, carry, press, and it was like you're doing that every day, just kind of getting monotonous with it. But there's nothing wrong with it, right? Like people have like success with it, and they seem to enjoy it, so that's all the better. But
yeah, that's great. I'm still trying to get stronger. There's nothing wrong with
that's what I was going to ask you, dude. It was like, compared to all those phases in your life, compared to like right now, where would you rank how you're feeling and how your body's responding to the load that you're putting under as of right now?
I'm feeling great. So I'm definitely feeling better than I did in my 20s. I'm 31 right now, I think. Maybe somewhere from
Don't
30
say
to
it
32.
out loud.
I stopped counting a while ago, but yeah, I feel better, and I think it's not so much I changed and hopped on a certain routine or program. I think it's more my goals have shifted from trying to reach some arbitrary external goal of a skill level, and more just taking care of my body. And funny enough, now when I try things I used to, specialize in, I may not be as hit the same numbers or whatever, but I could do it, with no warm up, and I feel great after it, and I'm not beat up, and I don't have to like roll for an hour and do 30-minute warm up to get there. So I like that aspect, and yeah, I feel better waking up in the morning, just going down the stairs.
It's not a grind for you.
Yeah, it used to be like, oh man, I'm feeling stiff and all these things. Now I'm feeling younger, just popping up rolling out of bed, or I should say rolling out of my floor. I sleep on the floor.
Oh, dude, you're my
yes.
favorite. Oh, that's great, dude. So I'm curious what your routine's looking like. What's I don't know if you're a huge routine guy, but I'm sure everyone kind of has similarities within, optimizing their bodies and stuff. So what's big on your routine list?
Lately, my routine has been not having a routine.
Really?
Funny enough, I used to be a big routine guy, but
Okay.
now it's like I used to be into doing the fasting, 16-hour fast. But now I'll go, today I'm going to have breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next day I'm not going to have breakfast. I try to be as random as possible with things now.
Flexibility, man.
Yeah. And that never even crossed my mind until recently. When I figured out, like, if I don't fast and I have breakfast, I shouldn't feel worse or shouldn't feel guilty. Or if I didn't take a cold shower today, I should enjoy it and not, feel like I'm doing something wrong. Like the goal is to be able to move across the spectrum and, have mobility to experience either side and be okay, not just to get stuck on one extreme. So I found myself, falling into that. And now, yeah, I try to randomize things. Maybe I'll work out a different time of the day, and instead of seeing it as, oh man, this isn't when I feel the best, it's like, oh, this is opportunity to train something I'm not as comfortable with. And I went for a year and a half recently without any caffeine, coffee, or stimulants.
Wow.
For that reason, I was getting like dependent on it. And then I found myself like scared to have a cup of coffee. I made it like a sacred thing. Like, oh, I can't, that's me failing, or that's me being weak. And I was like, dude, now I really need to start drinking coffee again because I got caught up in that. So
Yeah.
it's a continual battle for me to find things that help me with efficiency and optimizing, but also not getting caught up in the optimal, in the gym and in life.
Not being a slave to it.
Maybe that's an excuse for me not having a routine right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm justifying it, but yeah. Sorry, that's not answering your question.
No. I mean, that's a good answer, though. I mean, because I'm a huge routine guy. Like, I mean, and it's not something to where I need to be that way to be the best version of myself. It's just that's how I've always been. I think sports has kind of done that to me. As far as like prioritizing. Like doing certain things in certain times of the day. But it's funny you mentioned those two things about fasting and coffee, because your boy's on a 24-hour right now, just crushing black coffee, thinking,
oh, hell yeah.
Thinking I need to just frickin' stop drinking so much caffeine. But especially when you're fasting, dude, it's absolutely brutal. I don't know. Did you used to like do the intermittent fasting and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, I did it for years, and
I don't mind
funny, it. And a lot of times it was convenient for me in my schedule. Like,
yeah,
I would work in the morning. I'd eat when I had small windows of time. But it's funny. Have you gone like 48-hour fasting ever?
I've done 72s actually. Yeah, I've played around with a lot of different windows. My next one's going to be a whole week of just water and probably black coffee.
Dude, Robby, like the issue with me is it's hard for me to get to like day 3 because I can't sleep.
Really?
Long. So when you're saying like you're chugging coffee and doing that, I'm like, damn. I get like, yeah, it's hard for me to get sleep when I.
So it's funny. It's funny, dude, because I've always used this as an excuse. But I have like severe ADHD, and they always say that like caffeine does the opposite to you. So. For some reason, like I could drink a coffee at like 8 p.m. and I can go to bed at 8:30. Like it's so weird.
Oh wow!
I know. Like everyone says, like, dude, I'm so jealous of that. It's like, I mean, it's not that cool. Like sometimes I need the caffeine to like freaking get going, and it really doesn't do that for me. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I do like, yeah, I think 48 hours for me. is it's always like the first. I want to say after you break the traditional 16, right? Like the traditional 16-8, and then you get into that like 17 to 24 range. That's for me when I start like getting, okay, I'm hungry. And then you kind of move forward from that. And then after a while, everything just makes it, I don't know, it's just better. I don't know how to explain it. But moving on from that, dude, I want to ask, what's the hardest thing you've been doing lately as far as exercises go?
Honestly, the subjectively most difficult things I do are like just sled work.
Yeah, pulling it or pushing
It's both. I mean, it's such or crawling with it. It's such a simple thing, but it allows me to go 110%. You know, it's such a low barrier to entry, like as far as technicality or skill level, you just go. And that's why I love giving it to people too. And yeah, it's just how hard can I go? And each time there's a point where I quit and I just try to push it. But that's the hardest thing I do in a week.
How much load are you putting under that?
You know, not a crazy load, not a crazy weight. I'll just try to go as fast as I can.
Right.
And
are you a fast guy?
You know, when I first started doing it, I found myself pacing it. You know what I mean? And I see that with a lot of athletes. They pace it because they're there for like the grind. You know? And it's hard to, because if you really go all out on some of these things, it's like you'll hit a wall. And it's like, yeah, that's what I'm trying to find is that wall.
Yeah.
Soon. So I don't know. I'm probably average. Well,
it's like we're naturally scared of that wall. You know what I mean? Like we always want to leave something in the tank. I mean, I know I do that too. And then like I'm the idiot who goes to the gym and I'm there for 2 hours. And it's like, okay, there's probably no reason for me to be there. I'm addicted to it and I love it. So I'm going to make any excuse and justify any means for me to be there longer than I need to.
That's why I became a trainer, so I could live in a gym.
Gosh, yeah. Are you a big barefoot guy? Walk around barefoot?
I wear like minimal shoes. I wear like Fayus, which are $20 on Amazon. But I try to go barefoot as much as I can when I do like hikes outside, walks in the house. But I wear shoes when I work out.
What are some like biohacks, if you will, that you're implementing into your days?
Biohacks?
Never heard biohacks?
I have. I just never thought I'd be asked that question before.
Oh, dude, I love that stuff, man. I'm always, because I love this podcast is because like, yeah, I have a good audience with it, but at the same time, like I gain so much information from having like, it's like a selfish motive almost sometimes. So, but yeah, like I'm wearing my blue light blocking glasses right now, talking to you. So of course I had to ask about biohacking.
Shit, I don't know, man. I could give you maybe a time hack for anyone else who's a trainer out there.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Are you familiar with FRC?
Elaborate a little bit more.
So functional range conditioning pretty much is just yeah. So it's a system for joint mobility, and it's kind of what I'm talking about by increase your internal capacity for movement. One of the reasons I feel like I'm feeling younger when I wake up is I try to move my joints through their full ranges of motion every day.
Yep.
And it's not really like heavy work. It's kind of tedious work.
Yep.
But what I do is anytime I'm training a client, I'll throw that in during maybe a warm-up or at some point. And I'm always doing those along with my clients. So when I do go to do a workout any time of the day, because, I've gotten these in multiple times, so I'm getting that stimulus with clients throughout the day, I kind of just hop into whatever movement I want to do. And I've cut out my workout time is down to like maybe 45 minutes to an hour, if that. So yeah, there's a hack. do stuff with your clients, the low intensity movement type of mobility work, and that opens up a big window for yourself to do some more skill intensity training.
You're talking like, because my audience, from an athlete's perspective, like, are you talking like shoulder cars, hip cars, end range, control and end range, like lift offs, stuff like that?
Oh yeah, all of it. I'll try to get as much as I can, especially the cars. I'm doing that with all my clients.
Those suck, dude.
Yeah.
Those suck, man. Because I like, as a pitcher, right? Like, obviously my shoulder mobility is nowhere near optimal because I throw a freaking overhead baseball for a living. So I'm already at a deficit there. But those suck. So I want to be respectful of your time, dude. I don't want to go too much further, but what is it, something that you're passionate about that you would encourage our listeners to kind of implement or just do for the betterment of their life?
Yeah. So I would say, I guess this goes back to picking a goal of why you want to start a physical practice. And if I had to explain my personal goal, it would be I'm trying to be human strong. Mm-hmm. And I would define that as being as valuable and helpful in any situation as I can be. And I think if people had that in mind for training to, I want to be able to help someone move furniture or carry you out of a burning building or just be a strong human that's presented with anything, then I think a lot of health issues would decrease. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're telling people not to sit as much. We're telling people they need these metrics and improve your cardiovascular system, improve this. And then they think maybe I want to improve my cardiovascular system, so I'm going to become a runner. Mm-hmm. And then we see marathon runners are dying earlier of cardiovascular diseases than sedentary people. It's like, oh, maybe not. So maybe I need to squat to be healthy so I have my hips longer. And then we see these power lifters having hip surgery at 40. Like, maybe that's not the right way. So I think just people, instead of thinking of it like a video game where they're trying to bring the score as high as they can that will get them something, mm-hmm. just trying to be a helpful human being, training for that. Because if you're training and you can't walk the next day and you're just beat up, I think maybe we're losing sight of that. So I'm just offering that as a goal for people. If you are searching for something, and hopefully it'll improve the quality of your life, give you more freedom to do what you have fun doing, but also, someone's not going to have to take care of you, and you could help others. And that, down the chain will make a huge difference.
Absolutely, man. Well, like I said, dude, I want to be respectful of your time. I want to thank you for coming on. It was awesome having you. And if you can, for the audience, where can the listeners find you on social media?
Just on Instagram at StrongCamps. And you could go from there down the rabbit hole if you want.
And I highly encourage you to go down that rabbit hole. Loving the stuff you're producing, man. And again, thank you. Thanks for coming on the show, and I'll sign you off the air.
Ooh, Robby, thanks for having me, man. That was fun.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that's another episode of The Robby Rowe Show. Do me a favor, if you liked the episode, or even if you didn't like it, go ahead and leave me a review on whatever platform you're listening to. Not only does it help me out with popularity on my show, but it also helps me out as a host of this podcast Sometimes I don't know if I'm getting better, if I'm getting worse, and I need y'all's opinions. So go ahead and leave a review and let me know what you thought. So again, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, Robby Roland, The Robby Rowe Show. Your boy's out. Later.